Hello friends, Sarah Sunstone here, bringing you the latest gaming news with Sunnyside Up. Today is November 17th, 2025. The developers of Animula Nook, an upcoming life simulation game, shared a new developer diary titled Minnie's Tea Time. This addresses a number of the most asked questions from the community, covering topics of world building, gameplay systems, platforms, community events, and more. So grab a cup of tea and let's dive into all of this new information about Animula Nook together. So first up, before getting into the tea time where they're answering questions and addressing feedback, they wanted to share a short story about Animula Nook, starting with its origins. This game began as a dream where the team imagined themselves shrinking down and back into the real world, where everyday objects suddenly feel enormous. This led them to the question of what kinds of tiny wonders would they discover if they looked at the world in that way. And that dream is where the game took root. I think this message is very clear with what we've seen so far of the game. All of these common everyday objects are reimagined from this new perspective. And it's not always just as simple as, for example, oh, that mug looks so big from this tiny perspective. But rather, these everyday items are actually repurposed into all sorts of different things. And it seems like a lot of the inspiration comes from the desk. For the team, the desk is a magical place. As kids, it was a secret fortress for treasures and doodles. And as grown-ups, it's the last quiet corner they keep for themselves. It's where imagination and private feelings live. And that's why the idea of the desk as the homestead became a core design concept. So in Animula Nook, it does seem like we'll be starting our journey atop a desk. It seems like this will also be where we'll be building our miniature home and creating a miniature village. It does seem like there will be other locations around a room where we'll also be able to assign villagers and maybe even build and decorate. That's just speculation at this point based on one of the menus that was shown off in the trailer, but they've definitely emphasized the desk as being that home base, so this helps us to understand exactly why that is. They have a little segment here on the Wish Weavers, so when you start your journey in Animula Nook, you will be playing as a Wish Weaver. And the name comes from a classical Chinese phrase that carries the blessing, "May all your wishes come true." The developers want everyone brave enough to imagine and bring ideas to life to gain something meaningful. And the last little topic they wanted to address before getting into those FAQs is their goal and their vision for this game. They said their goal is simple. They don't want to tell us how to love life. Rather, they want to show the little details that deserve remembering, tiny stories that still carry weight. So when we step into this tiny world and live as one of its small residents, they hope that we'll find our own way of living and caring for the small things. So the vibe behind this really makes me feel like there are going to be lots of different ways to approach your gameplay in Animula Nook. It seems like there will be lots of options for decorating, customization, gameplay experiences, so on and so forth. So now let's get into what is probably the most highly anticipated aspect of this tea time, which is where the team is addressing a bunch of frequently asked questions and provided feedback. So the first section addresses character customization. If you would like to see a full breakdown on what's been shared so far about character customization, I'll have some of my previous Animula Nook content linked down in the description for your reference. And if you're excited for this game, please go ahead and shine the lovely like button to let me know. And also make sure to subscribe to my channel with your notifications on to stay in the loop. Now, many folks, myself included, have asked for more skin tones, more hair colors, hairstyles, and facial options specifically. And I am very, very pleased to see that the team is planning to expand those options. So they're confirming here that in addition to more skin tones and faces, they'll also be adding more hairstyles, hair colors, and clothing choices, so everyone can make a unique look and move into Minitopia feeling themselves. So that is excellent to see because that is what I was really hoping for as well. So very, very happy to get this confirmation. Next, we have a couple of questions related to world exploration. The first one asks, can we expect bigger, more varied maps with hidden surprises? And the team answered, absolutely. They've already designed the forest-style and food restaurant-style exploration areas, and they've released the Floral Sea, which is a field of tulips dotted with cute ladybugs, complete with special sunlight collection mechanics, and small scene minigames. Now, I believe they have shared glimpses of these different areas already in the trailers, but they're also sharing a little secret with us here, and that is that two more very different areas are actually already in development. One is a bustling plaza, and another is a mysterious mushroom zone. These both sound amazing in different ways, so I can't wait to see what they have in store for us. And they also shared that beyond that, more diverse maps are coming, each with its own native inhabitants, unique gathering mechanics, minigames, and hidden surprises to discover. So this is really exciting. It seems like there's also going to be lots of things for us to do within each of these unique areas, which I think is just as important as the visual presentation of each area. So I'm very excited to hear all of this. The second question related to world exploration asks if Minitopia will sync with real-world seasons, holidays, and special days. And actually, very surprisingly to me at least, the answer for this is yes. So Minitopia will follow real-world time, including day-night cycles, 4 seasons, and even special weather events like auroras and shooting stars. Further, on certain real-world dates, we'll also have in-game commemorations and festivals to enjoy, and those days, of course, can get delightfully busy. I'm really curious to see how exactly this is going to feel and how this will be experienced from a gameplay standpoint, and specifically with the gameplay loop. It seems like they're setting something up somewhat similar to an Animal Crossing style. My one concern is the fact that this game is most likely going to be like an online-only game. So I do imagine that we would not be able to do any time skipping. I think this is totally fine if there's like ways to experience the gameplay that we aren't locked out of based on the clock. I just think striking a balance with this could be interesting, especially if some folks are only able to play at certain times of the day or on certain days. I would hope for like a festival, for example, there would be more of like a window of time you'd be able to experience it rather than just one single day if we're not able to time skip around to get a chance to do those special activities. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this one down in the comments. Next up, we have a couple questions related to building. So the first one is actually more of a request, which is to include third-person and God mode building views, along with more building aids. The team's response to this is that the third-person building mode does exist, and we have seen that in the trailer. And they elaborated that they are just working on tuning the controls for that right now with internal testing. They also shared that blueprint tools are in development too, so you'll be able to quickly replicate and place scenes. I'm wondering if this is somewhat referencing things that you might build piece by piece. We saw a pool, we saw a gazebo, we saw some bigger structures in the exterior design portion of the trailer. And I wonder if once you create something like this, you might be able to almost like copy and paste it or like save it as a design and then maybe replicate it elsewhere or maybe even share it with others. I'm not sure. This is all speculation, but that's something that could be really cool to see. The other question in the building category asks what the biggest design challenge or surprise was when creating systems for this new perspective of being small in a big world. The team shared that the biggest challenge was actually switching perspectives and turning quote-unquote boring adult objects into parts of a tiny world, and also matching every object's scale to Minitopia. So for example, the sofa and speakers you see in the PV are actually everyday desk items like a glasses case and wired headphones. Those of you who watched my full trailer breakdown are very familiar with all of these items. Next, we have a question about outfits and fashion, wondering if clothing can be split into more parts for freer mixing. The team shared that yes, they already support many outfit slots. So we have hair, we have tops, bottoms, socks, shoes, hats, hair accessories, face accessories, earrings, necklaces, hand accessories, back accessories, and even handheld items. So this is incredible to hear that there are this many different categories for wearables, and definitely this will give us lots of freedom for styling. Then on the topic of farming and plants, it was asked whether we can choose what we want to plant and if crops will have uses beyond just selling. So the team responded by saying that they're not going to force any crop choices, and also that items gathered in exploration can be used in farming. So I'm wondering if we'll actually be able to forage some things that might have a seed drop, and then we can plant that back home and grow our own version of that crop. They also said that crops can be sold, but we can also use them as decorations or even turn them into food. And there will be hidden crops to discover. I think it'd be really fun to see some whimsical like fantasy crops in this game. I don't know how realistic they want to keep things, but I think it could be like the perfect setup to have something like, oh, grow your own buttons or grow little pom-poms, like fun little arts and crafts, things like that. Next, it was asked if there will be cooking, and this again was teased in the trailer. It is great to get this extra information and extra confirmation from the team, however. So they're confirming, yes, cooking is in development, and that food actually really matters in Minitopia. So they have plans for really fun cooking mechanics and fun recipes. Interestingly, they are actually taking suggestions if you have recipe ideas. I would say no guarantees that they would get implemented, but it's really nice to see that they are open and receptive to ideas and feedback at this stage in their development. They also responded to a piece of feedback regarding social and multiplayer aspects of Animula Nook, and that feedback is basically just saying, please don't force social features on us, make it an optional thing. And the team responded to this by saying, absolutely, there's going to be no forced social features. They want every Wish Weaver to enjoy Minitopia in their own way. So this is confirmation that social features will be optional, so you can find the lifestyle that fits you best. And I think that is perfect. I think it is amazing to have the option for multiplayer and social features, but I think it's great to not force that on players. It's not going to be like an MMO or something like that. You can live your own little life in Animula Nook and never interact with someone else if you don't want to, but you can also, find friends or play with your friends or communities to bond, in the game world with them as well. On the topic of the minis, which are the various NPCs in Animula Nook, the first piece of feedback is saying, please don't make the minis feel like tools. Give them personality, give them routines, and lots of interaction. So basically, we don't want the NPCs to feel like NPCs. We want them to feel like they're full of life and have purpose outside of, just maybe giving us fetch quests or maybe just assigning them to a simple duty. The developers responded to this by saying that every mini is an individual with their own personality, their own favorite foods, their own favorite colors and styles. They also have their own friends and social circles. Each mini has a bespoke story and custom dialogue, daily habits, and memory features to make daily interactions feel real. I love the idea of this memory feature, and they shared a little bit more on this. That minis will remember the day you first met, they'll also react emotionally when you cook, and will give you thoughtful gifts in return. They share that they want the minis to feel like friends, feel like neighbors, and even family members. So I love that so much intention and emphasis is being placed on developing the minis as, these living, breathing, cute little characters, and not just slotting them in as NPCs to fill out the world. The next question asks if we can gift clothes to minis and have them wear matching outfits. And the team shared that this is planned. And after collecting feedback, they're going to be adding gifting systems for the minis. So you'll be able to give them clothes. You can also share fruits and foods with them, and you can build those interactions into your gameplay. So this is in active development right now. The next question is about the Whoopa, which is the pet companion you'll have in Animula Nook. Also functions as a bit of a glider to help you get around. Very helpful, very cute, very fluffy. This question wonders if we can cuddle the Whoopa and also if there will be any merch plans for the Whoopa. The team shared that since the Whoopa is such an important companion, interaction mechanics with them are a must-have. So to me, that sounds like, yes, we will probably be able to pet them. They further shared that they're planning affection systems so you can bond more deeply with the Whoopa. So most likely you'll be able to raise your heart level, for example, with them, like you would other, NPCs around the world. You will develop a relationship with your Whoopa, which is great. They did actually also share that plush Whoopa merch is in a planning stage. So I think that is great because who wouldn't want a cute little Whoopa plushie? I know I definitely would. The next category of questions relates to controls and platforms. The first one just asks if controllers will be supported. We probably could have gleaned that they would be, considering the game is, coming to consoles, so they would need to have that controller support. But we do have that extra confirmation here that yes, controller support is planned from early development. The next question asks which platforms will the game be on, and if progress will sync across platforms. The team shared that they're planning releases on PC, Mac, Nintendo Switch 2, and PS5. And they're working on cross-platform progress syncing, which is really exciting. They also shared that the devs are pushing to support as many platforms as possible, which leads me to speculate that they might also be trying to get the game on even more platforms in the future as well. I personally cannot wait to play this on PS5, but it is really exciting that they're working on that cross-platform progress syncing. So if you have multiple preferred platforms, maybe for different settings, like one where you get to kind of kick back handheld and another where you're, maybe sitting up at your desk. It'll be nice to be able to have that flexibility of going back and forth. And then here they actually addressed whether an internet connection will be required, which kind of ties back to what I was referencing when we're talking about the gameplay syncing with real-world time. So here it does say that yes, an internet connection is required. I'm guessing it's just going to be required flat out, but for some reason they did elaborate that, online features like co-op and cross-platform syncing require connection. I'm guessing they're sharing this to kind of detail exactly why an internet connection is required. It does seem like this is going to be one of those games that continually gets updates, has these fun events and celebrations, and a lot of the times for games like this that are more on the side of a live service compared to a game that's just, completely built out and doesn't get further support, usually the side of the live service does need that internet connection, I think almost exclusively. So I did expect that for this, but here is that confirmation that you will need that internet connection. There's definitely pros and cons to this being a factor, which would be a topic for another day, or we'll be here for an entire hour. And then the final question for today asks if there will be any community events. And the team shared that yes, they've already run several community events and plan more around tests and launch. So for me, the really interesting thing here is that it seems like they are going to have maybe some beta testing coming up. I would love to actually get my hands on the gameplay sooner rather than later, so fingers crossed that maybe there'll be an opportunity soon for this. And at the end here, I just wanted to highlight that the team shared that today's tea time is just the start of our two-way conversation, so keep sharing your wild ideas or your straight-up complaints. Here, there are no players versus officials, only a team building Minitopia together with you. So I really love how responsive and receptive and open they do seem to be towards feedback and ideas. I think that's really amazing. They really want to create this with the community in mind and with players' voices in mind. So again, this is really exciting to see and makes me really hopeful and optimistic for the future of this game. So, let's hope they actually stick to that and their actions match their words, because I honestly think this game could be something so special. So again, fingers crossed. So there you have it, friends. That's the latest news from Animula Nook. As always, please share your thoughts with me down in the comments. Anything and everything. I always love hearing from you. And with all that being said, thank you so much for watching. I love you all. And until next time, take care.